I'm speaking to when I'm not speaking. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, esteemed guests and colleagues. Before we begin, we at Simon Fraser University respectfully acknowledges the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Katsi, Coquitlam, Kaikat, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen peoples on whose unceded ancestral and traditional territories our three campuses reside. Welcome to the Strengthening Food Security and Local Economy Pathways to Achieving the SDGs event. And today we will hear more about the inspiring partnership between British Columbia's Ministry of Agriculture and Food and Simon Fraser University. We believe that our partnership is a model of how institutional food procurement can support local food resilience and promote indigenous food sovereignty. And I am your host, Dr. Tamara Soma. Hello, everyone. I am an assistant professor and director of the Food Systems Lab at Simon Fraser University, where we conduct community engaged research from farm to table and beyond. And it is an absolute pleasure to be your moderator for today. And together we represent a dynamic and diverse mix of sectors, including academia, indigenous chef, private sector, and social enterprise. And together we have propelled Simon Fraser University, aka SFU, towards the remarkable milestone of 40% local food sourcing. And so before we start the panel, we will have a few short videos and brief introductions highlighting our diverse group. And then after the intro, we will continue with a moderated Q&A with our panelists to demonstrate how our local actions contribute to the global visions of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 12, just responsible consumption and production. And just a quick note to say thank you to all of the people joining online and also our colleague Heather Wilkie for documenting this event. I believe that many of our Canadian colleagues and friends are actually watching this event right now at 4:30 in the morning. Okay, so our first introduction is by Ms. Alitha Boxkey, who is joining us online. She is the Manager of Institutional Strategies and Partnerships for Feed BC, which is a program of British Columbia's Ministry of Agriculture and Food. So let's hear from Alitha.
Thank you so much, Tamara. I'm so pleased to be joining today here virtually alongside my esteemed colleagues and local food champions at Simon Fraser University, Compass Group, Chartwells, and Goodly Foods to share more about our journey together to increasing BC food in public institutions with Feed BC. As Tamara mentioned, I'm Alitha Boskey. I'm a manager with Feed BC at the BC Ministry of Agriculture and Food. I'm joining from the traditional territory of the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, which is commonly referred to now as the city of Victoria, our province's capital city. So I'm going to start by just taking a couple moments to introduce our province, to give you a bit of context, and our food and agriculture sector, to just give you a bit of context for our session here today. So do you want to go to that slide? Perfect. So thank you, everyone. So British Columbia is Canada's most westerly province. We're home to 5 million people, which is about 13% of Canada's total population, much of which is concentrated in Metro Vancouver, which is Canada's third largest city. British Columbia is well known internationally for Whistler, skiing, Rocky Mountains, Okanagan Valley for fruit and wine, as you can see in some of the photos here. But unique to many jurisdictions, British Columbia has what is known as the Agriculture Land Reserve, which is a provincial designation of land in which agriculture is recognized as priority use. So this makes up about 5% of our land base. It was established 50 years ago, and it was viewed as really significantly a progressive legislation at that time. So in the Agricultural Land Reserve, farming is encouraged and non-agricultural uses are restricted. And this has been an important tool for a province in ensuring long-term future farmland for the province. We are very proud in British Columbia to boast a very diverse sector. We have over 200 primary products and 100 types of seafood. We are Canada's largest fruit producing province and significant producer of greenhouse vegetables, field vegetables, mushrooms, chicken and eggs, amongst other things. But we are also made up of a lot of small businesses and farms. And in fact, most of our farms and food processing plants operate with less than 20 people, and a third of our farms are just less than 10 acres each. In 2021, British Columbia's agriculture, seafood, and food processing sector generated about $18 billion, which is just over 2% of our gross domestic product. 70% of this GDP was contributed from the food and beverage processing sector. And we see that as a significant component for our public institutions market, particularly in health and post-secondary. Great, so I'll turn it back to you, Tamara. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Alita. So next we have an introduction video and a few highlights about our university, SFU, by Sid Mehta, who is the Senior Director of SFU Food and Ancillary Services. Sid?
Thanks, Tamara. Thank you. My name is Sid Mehta. I'm the Senior Director for Ancillary Services, and I'm going to give you a quick overview on Simon Fraser University. We have around 37,000 students, 100 plus undergrad programs, 45 postgrads. We also have 180,000 proud alums, many of them working at FAO. So it was great to see and meet a lot of alums. We are known for being the #1 in the world for sustainable cities and communities, and the work that we are doing on SDG 11. We're #5 in climate action, SDG 13. #1 in overall innovation. Our SFU Innovates program has been highly recognized throughout the world, and 4 in peace, justice, and strong institutions. So we tend to enable our communities in these 4 areas. Late last year, we introduced our new strategy. The SFU strategy is built on upholding truth and reconciliation, making a difference for British Columbians, engaging in global issues, and transforming the SFU experience. We at Ancillary Services champion the student experience. We coordinate how SFU community works, eats, travels, and celebrates. Over $60 million in annual managed services and a commitment to an inclusive and sustainable campus. The SFU food program is built on fueling the community, transforming our food systems, and prioritizing the experience. And we have a number of initiatives in each one of these pillars. We serve close to 15,000 meals every day. We have a number of small, independent, diverse food operators. Some of them have been with us for more than 25 years. As you can see, Renaissance Coffee started in a black and white picture as a small coffee cart and now has grown on to 5 locations and a thriving part of our community. So that's the husband and wife who own the place, and this is in 2023. We have 30+ dining options for our community.
Wonderful, Sid. And it is really that nice. So I do hope you come and visit us in Burnaby or Vancouver or Surrey, because we are in different places. So our third panelist is talented Indigenous chef Stephanie Barluck with a short video highlighting her work to promote and educate people about her Indigenous traditional foods. Steph?
Thank you, Tamara. Here is the Rooted video. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Chef Steph Barluck. I'm Tetlikuchin from Fort McPherson, Northwest Territories, and I currently reside in Tsawwassen, BC with my husband and 2 children. I'm excited to share my Indigenous roots through these recipes and Indigenous ingredients with the SFU community. Growing up, we hunted, fished, and traveled the Arctic tundra. I drew on experiences with food from my childhood and also where I live now in BC with the local ingredients to build these recipes. In the collection, you'll find main dishes, soups, salads, and desserts that incorporate Indigenous ingredients and flavors.
The SFU dining team is thrilled to work with Chef Stephanie. It has broadened our knowledge regarding Indigenous food and culture. It's a great learning opportunity for my staff, faculty, and students.
Rooted is the first step on our journey to include more Indigenous dishes on campus and to support Indigenous chefs and entrepreneurs. As part of the program, a digital hub has been created where guests can scan a QR code and learn more about the dishes they try. It'll be a great educational resource.
I come from strong, resilient people, and our culture should be shared.
Wonderful. We're going to hear from Steph later. And so next we have a short video from Kevin Booth, who is the VP of Chartwell's division of Compass Group Canada and is our partner.
Perfect. Thank you, Tamara, and good afternoon, everyone. Just a quick, brief video on Compass Group, probably the largest company you've never heard of. Thank you.
People want more from life.
More variety, more connection,
More fullness, more flavor.
And tastes, they're evolving.
And we're evolving.
Right along with them. We're Compass Group.
You may know us by a different name.
We're a family of companies delivering meaningful moments through food, hospitality, and services.
There's actually a chance we've met before.
Because we're everywhere.
Everywhere.
We're everywhere.
We actually are.
From cultural venues to colleges to hospitals.
And the most extraordinary events in the world.
The Super Bowl, the Kentucky Derby, the Oscars, and the Grammys.
We've been there.
Or we're about to be.
And it's all due to our passionate people.
It's the passion and pursuit of our remarkable people
That drives us to do things that are not just different, but better.
Our growth, it's unequal.
We never stop asking ourselves, what's next?
What's next?
What's next?
What's next?
And that allows us to do some pretty remarkable things.
Whether it's pushing the boundaries of technology
Or revolutionizing sustainability practices.
or pioneering data science to enhance the customer experience.
We're doing good things through food.
We're tackling the challenges of tomorrow.
We're leading the charge.
And we're leading the change.
We're bringing people together to make life richer and fuller.
Our approach is one of a kind.
No two facilities are the same. One size fits all doesn't work.
Does not work.
We bring a customized approach to your business
To help you serve your customers.
Your patients,
Your students,
your staff,
Your residents.
Your colleagues.
And your fans. We serve a lot of people.
And a lot of food.
a lot of great food.
We're driven to create food that is alive.
We also provide crucial support services.
like facilities, maintenance, cleaning, and groundskeeping.
To keep your spaces looking great.
And running smoothly.
We'll never stop.
We'll never stop growing.
We never stop growing.
Challenging ourselves.
We're getting smarter.
Simply said, we're never complacent.
Never complacent.
Never complacent.
We're never complacent.
We are Compass Group.
We're Compass Group.
We are Compass Group.
We are Compass Group.
Okay, well, now you know them. So next, and our final panelist is Art Schuurman-Hess, CEO of Goodly Foods, an exciting social enterprise in Vancouver. And we have a lovely introduction video from you.
Thank you, Tamara. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's have a look what Goodly does.
Potatoes, a vegetable that is the foundation for many meals. Not all potatoes are perfect, but this is where our friends at Goodly come in. Their journey starts here at Heppel's farm, where all of the rejected potatoes are separated and taken to the Goodly kitchen. There, the staff starts doing their thing. First, the peeling, then the slicing, then the dicing. Finally, everything is put into the kettle, where all of the magic is made. After some time, when everything is ready to go, they are hand-packed into individual containers, where they are sent out to make someone's tummy just a little bit happier. As you can see, here at Goodly, it's all about making sure that nothing goes to waste, and that everything is used to its fullest potential. Goodly, cooking with potential.
Okay, so I think now we are ready. You've heard all of the videos. We're ready to hear more from each panelist. And I'm going to give the first floor to Aletha. Aletha, I'm very interested in learning more about the Feed BC initiative. Could you shed some light on why the Ministry of Agriculture and Food established this initiative in our province and the impact of this program for the local economy?
Great. Hi. Yes, Tamara, thank you. So launched in 2018, FEBC works in partnership with provincial ministries, public institutions, and supply chain partners to increase use of BC grown and processed foods in hospitals, schools, and other government facilities. By leveraging purchasing of government and public institutions to increase and promote BC food, FEBC supports individual and collective action to drive opportunities for BC's food sector within the institution's market to grow our local economy and food systems resilience. At FEBC, we often describe ourselves as a channel for the efforts and the leaders of champions across public institutions and their supply chain partners. And I think our panel is certainly a testament to that. Can everyone see the economic impacts infographic there? So we have some results from BBC study. Yeah, it's the next slide there, thanks. Using an input-output model to really describe and show the economic benefits of shifting to more food spending in institutions to domestic BC food sources. So for every dollar that an institution spends in BC, it creates a twofold impact, up to 2.2 times the expenditure to the BC economy, including new jobs in GDP. And our FeedBC partnerships with public institutions across health authorities, post-secondary schools helps food and agriculture businesses participate in British Columbia's $415 million a year institutional food service market. Next slide there. So a key part of our Feed BC program is a set of standards, which includes a BC food definition and target of 30% to guide institutions tracking and sourcing of BC food collectively across public institutions and their supply chain partners is also an important tool for us to measure and grow impact. These standards, program standards, were developed and tested based on the advice from our food supply and distribution partners and senior executive, including Compass Group and Chartwells as well. So secondly, FeedBC was designed to really understanding the need for shifting culture across institutions. So critical in our work is actually supporting and aligning with sector-specific local food values and interests. And in post-secondary, and you'll hear later on this panel, this is really reflected around community and sustainability values and the student demand for local food, indigenous foods. So our government and public sector partners with FeedBC are just a key part of our success. And critical to that is supply chain partners like Chartwells that have created new and important practices to source and track and promote BC food so that our institutions can participate. So we have three strategic areas that our FeedBC program was based on for long-term success, and these very much build on one another. The first strategy is around building awareness and demand for BC food, and we have a number of resources and tools, networking opportunities, procurement supports, etc., with our institutions to do that. This directly impacts our ability to achieve the second key strategy here, which is activating business relationships and opportunities across the supply chain to connect demand to institution-ready supply. So we do business-to-business events, value chain development to increase the number of institutional products ready and available in the BC food supply chain. And the third related objective is to build capacity of BC's food and beverage businesses and sector to participate in the institutions market. And so we do market readiness information sessions and other supports as well. And I'll just say last but not least, our key overarching strategy is to measure and evaluate performance to be able to showcase our partnerships and success. So we do local food stories across our partners, news releases, and have annual progress reporting in our health and post-secondary sectors in the province. Our work has been slow and steady work. There are many facets in our globalized system and structures that place challenges on a more localized food system. However, over the last 5 years, we have been able to measure impact, both qualitative and quantitative impact. And I think the stories, and you'll hear some of those today, the stories behind this work is inspiring. So we now have built alliances across 5 of our government ministries, and this impacts over 200 facilities, and this number will even grow as we expand our work into the kindergarten to grade 12 schools later this year. We have created a new product sourcing service at our ministry to connect institutions and local food companies through technology and events, but also increasing the availability of products. And I mentioned new value chains for berries, chicken, and yogurt cups is underway. We now have established tracking across all of our 20 post-secondary sectors and health authorities, so we can begin to really measure progress and impact over time. But more widely than that, we have a network of over 100 plus champions and FeedBC supporters. And then last, we now have integrated FEBC and local food criteria in 5 different government procurements for food. And so this is an exciting way to really embed and establish FEBC in government. So looking forward, as we look to the future, I'll just take you sort of back through the last 5 years of our program development and where we've been. And back in 2018, we really envisioned 3 phases, which we are on a journey through. And so the first really was taking some time to understand and prime the system for change. And this included identifying gaps, opportunities, and options, really cultivating champions. We launched our work in healthcare. And then we did some early just testing of our program standards and tracking and definitions. In 2021 to 2023, we really worked on building capacity and testing ideas. So we built our strong partnership program as a solid foundation for FEBC and embedded our program standards and resources and guidance that we built during that time. We really were about testing and trying different activities to connect buyers and suppliers through business-to-business events, research, partner projects and pilots, and readiness resources. And while we continued to work in health, we launched early work in post-secondary institutions and kindergarten to grade 12, and also provincial correctional facilities as well. As we're kind of scaling up for Impact 2023, we are now well positioned with strong partnerships. Institutions are aware of FEBC and are receptive and working with their food service supply chain partners. We have strong institutional relationships, and we've tried a lot of things, but we have a deep understanding of the barriers and opportunities. So we're really looking at leveraging those partnerships and learning to drive demand and impact. Here are some of our resources that you can find on our FEBC web page for British Columbia, both resources and supports for BC food and agriculture companies that are interested in the institutions market, but also for our public institutions across different areas within government. So thank you so much, and pass it back to you, Tamara.
Great. Thank you so much, Aletha. Now, my next question is for Sid. Sid, you've been instrumental in driving change within SFU's food ecosystem, aligning procurement practice with SFU sustainability goals, and also supporting Indigenous reconciliation efforts. So can you share with us how you've used contract management as a tool to further SFU's values?
Thanks, Aletha. And thanks, Tamara. I think embarking on a journey of change requires relentless positivity. So I think that has always been our motto, and Mahatma Gandhi, an icon for us, has said that you never know what the results come of your actions, but if you don't do it, then there will be no results. And so this spirit of relentless positivity and action has shaped our journey at SFU towards a more sustainable and inclusive procurement practices. Despite facing pushbacks, we preserved with positivity. I rallied both my teams and Chartwell teams around a single motto. We can do it if we put our minds to it. Start slow, be agile, learn fast. The motto was that we can push for continuous improvement for our sustainability goals. In our day-to-day operations, we have to manage around 15,000 meals a day. That requires a whirlwind of task management. We have so many things thrown at us. So we had to figure out a way to make sure that we remained on the primary goal of local procurement. And so we tried to get away from the chaos and kept the teams focused squarely on local procurement, because we knew that that would have an impact on our communities. Throughout the journey, we had to make sure that we had alignment with Chartwell's, our partners, and with all the other stakeholders. So we wanted to make sure that we could bring them on, we could speak to all our partners in a single language. So we had this unwavering focus on legacy. We asked ourselves, what legacy will we leave behind? Will our efforts merely result in just another program, or will we blaze through and for others to follow? We aimed for the latter, and we indeed needed to ensure that Chartwells were aligned in our vision. But beyond organizational goals, we asked future-oriented questions. What will our kids say about our efforts? What stories will we share with our grandkids? We wanted to make sure that when we brought our families to SFU, that they knew the work we were doing and that they would be proud of us. But that had to begin with a trustful relationship. And how do you build a trust relationship? How do you make sure that we've got a relationship that looks after each other's back? Converting words into action took a lot of effort, determination. To foster this, we implemented top-to-top meetings, we implemented staff barbecues, we implemented culinary excursions, recognition ceremonies, and joint problem-solving sessions. Over time, through these shared experiences, we were able to build that trust. This trustful relationship became the bedrock for our collective efforts, proving the strong relationships can turn words into tangible actions. But we also needed a guiding document, and typically in our environments, they become contracts that we sign with our partners. In the world of food services, contracts play a critical role in shaping these partnerships. We wanted to make sure that these contracts were clear, that the definitions were well articulated, and targets were well managed. We also made sure that there was touch points at every part of the journey, and we made sure that the contracts articulated that. To increase our impact, we knew that we had to expand our scope and coordinate with other public sector institutions to join the Chartwell's platform, because with scale, we can not only enable local procurement, but we also can supercharge the local economy. So we invited all other public sector institutes to join our journey. Yet this expansion wasn't just about sheer numbers, thereby driving scales. It was rooted in a deep understanding of how we can help Chartwell succeed for our mutual benefit. Embracing the impossible. As we forged new paths and broke conventional norms, we recognized that our potential as pioneers for change. We understood that our work through rooted in SFU had the potential to ripple outside and contribute to the UN SDGs. Through fostering partnerships and demonstrating sustainable and respectful procurement practices, we became part of a larger global movement. We grew to appreciate that our actions at SFU could and indeed do ignite change far beyond our campus. Echoing the wisdom of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. So we move forward one meal at a time, one relationship at a time, one sustainable action at a time. We are paving the way towards a more sustainable, inclusive, and equitable world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. And I love that you started with Gandhi and ended with Nelson Mandela. So next, another inspiring speaker is Stephanie. Chef Steph, this question is for you. The work that you are doing goes beyond simply introducing new Indigenous recipes to students, but you're also introducing non-Indigenous peoples to your culture. Can you share a little bit more about the process of creating an authentic and educational experience for students, faculty, and staff at SFU?
Thanks, Tamara. With this opportunity that was made possible through the collaboration with Simon Fraser University and Feed BC, it was a chance to share my Tetlikwitchin heritage and way of life, our Indigenous way of life, how we harvest our food from the land in a sustainable way. When we hunt and fish, we only take what is needed. With larger game animals that are harvested, we process in a way that we utilize all parts from nose to tail. Our Indigenous knowledge with our food security is what sustains us for all the generations before and hopefully for the generations after. These recipes and stories are about survival and how the Tetlikwitchin people can continue living in the harsh Arctic environment. There's so much tradition behind these stories, what was taught to my parents, grandparents. Our culture is a living culture today because we continue what our ancestors have done. The way I was taught and raised was what inspired me through the collaboration with SFU and Feed BC to share our Indigenous cuisine and culture with students, faculty, and public. Through the success of this program, Rooted, we have been able to foster an increased understanding of Indigenous culture, cuisine, which is still being shared with SFU today. The educational piece that was created was to help others learn about the respect of the land, animals, and not to abuse or take for granted what nature provides. It was about building connections and relationships with everyone involved in creating, cooking, and tasting the recipes, reaching all different people and cultures with a message of preserving, sustaining, and respecting everything nature provides.
So Steph, I have a question follow-up. How has the Indigenous Peoples Program contribute to, translating the vision into meaningful action?
With the support of SFU and Feed BC, I am able to share my teachings with all of you. One of the first teachings I was taught as an Indigenous person was the respect of the land, animals, and people. All students from all backgrounds showed a lot of interest in the dishes, eager to ask questions or share similar recipes and stories. My vision and willingness comes from a proven history of tradition that sustained my ancestors, taking only what is needed. Indigenous people can be found on all continents who all come from a rich history, such as I have shared with you today. The excitement from the staff willing to learn about all the recipes I have found truly inspiring to me that the message was being heard. Through the experience, I was able to put myself and my culture out there. Indigenous food can mean so many different things. To me, it means survival, memories, love, respect, community, and connection. Important lessons that I carry with me from my upbringing. We connect through food. Let's continue to do that. Which I will through teachings to my 5-year-old daughter and 1-year-old son. Masi Cho, thank you. And I want to say thank you to Simon Fraser University, the Gwich'in Tribal Council, the Tetlikwich'in Band, and the University of Alberta in getting me here today.
Thank you so much, Steph. We definitely have wonderful supporters. And I hope you all can come to SFU to eat and try Stephanie's food because it's amazing. So my next question is for Kevin. You have a very strong focus, Kevin, on supporting the local food economy. That's what you're committed to. So I have a two-part question. First, can you explain how you've managed to incorporate new resources to source and track BC food and increase customer satisfaction? And second, what types of structural changes have your company made to support SFU and other public sector institutions who want to support local food?
Perfect. And thank you for your question, Dr. Sama. To give some context before I dive into the answer, just a little bit about Compass Group and Chartwell's Canada. As the video illustrated, Compass Group is a global food service provider in 40 countries. We serve about 5.5 billion meals per year. Chartwell's Canada is the education arm of our Canadian division, and we serve about 45 million meals, but have about 1.2 million students in our care each and every year. So to put into context, the scalability of our initiative and our ability to really drive results is really what spawned a lot of the work that we've been doing. Breaking down your question, let me first connect with how we define local sourcing and how that ties into satisfaction. Through a survey we conducted in July of 2022, we found that 75% of Canadians prefer to purchase their products from a local vendor. Additionally, we found that 1/3 of those consumers, specifically within the Gen Z group, have made changes to allow them to eat based off of the climate change concerns that they have, including the most common change, which is supporting local producers. Based on these findings, we've made efforts to not only offer more locally sourced items to students across the country, but of course with our partnership at SFU, which we're so excited to share today that 40% of all items on campus are locally sourced, with a goal to get to 50% within the next year. So to do so, we used a 4-phased approach to both source and track foods within BC. First, we leverage existing relationships in our network of farmers and suppliers, showcasing their products day to day within SFU. We've leaned on our internal purchasing group to work with individual farmers and integrate new suppliers into our system. This allows us to both order and track and report on a quarterly basis. And since we have ongoing conversations with our teams on site, we naturally collaborate on this effort. When members of the team bring forward new ideas, it allows our team to begin the process of bringing new exciting offers to campus quickly. And finally, we're working with great organizations like Feed BC and Good to Grow, giving us the opportunity to network and meet new local suppliers as we progress through this transition. Since we know through our findings and our local sourcing is very important consideration, specifically to those in Gen Z, we developed a marketing program to ensure that our students and our guests know exactly where their food is coming from on campus. We have two programs to accomplish this: Farm to Fork and Spotlight. With Farm to Fork, we use multiple channels through our marketing efforts, whether that be through website, social, internal blogs, and of course, digital screens on campus that really allow the students to connect with the story of where their food is coming from. To support our menus and marketing assets, we have branded them as such, including a very easily scannable QR code that again allows students to understand and see the story of where their food is coming from, but more importantly, allow them to connect to food in such an organic way. And lastly, our monthly Spotlight program, which highlights local British Columbia entrepreneurs and offers them the opportunity to come onto campus and showcase their products through pop-ups or station takeovers. One of the challenges we have encountered but have successfully overcome is keeping a pulse on what's new and exciting in the local scene. Partnerships like Legends Hall have really helped us in formulating that challenge. Legends Hall is a BC retailer focused on curating a selection of local and artisan providers. Partnering with them has given us additional access as well as awareness to a host of quality and local products. Something that sounds as simple as a partnership like Legends Hall has really been instrumental in our sourcing efforts. Not only has it been efficient, but it's worked well with our culinary teams to, again, understand what's curating and what's happening in the scene. And finally, as mentioned, we're thrilled to partner with SFU on their local foods program to continue this thread across our organization. We've weaved a focus of local first throughout our culinary teams, both through Chartwells and Compass holistically. We have an expectation that we'll be continuously implementing a farm to fork mentality and offering spotlight opportunities for our local vendors to celebrate the work that we're doing in communities all across Canada. All to say that while it's a mindset that we've taken across our business, it has not been difficult to get our culinary teams on board with such an amazing initiative, as they too are thrilled to give back and support their communities in any way that they can. Thank you, Dr. Sama, for the question, and of course, the opportunity to share a bit about our team today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kevin, for collaborating with us and being flexible with your structure and the business. And so the last panelist, we have Art. So Goodly is an exciting local company with a mission, sustainably and social justice mission. So can you talk a little bit about the value of institutional procurement to your company and how you've innovated to meet the unique needs of the sector? And I'm particularly interested in hearing more about your involvement with the BC Ministries of Agriculture and Food Hub Network.
Thank you, Tamara. It's really a pleasure to be here today. We started Goodly to help address two major issues in Canada. 60% of the food that is produced, amounting to 35.5 million metric tons, is lost or wasted annually in Canada. At the same time, 49% of people accessing food banks are either on social assistance or disability support, while facing barriers to traditional employment. A large portion of the wasted surplus food is usable. Goodly is working hard to upcycle misfit and surplus foods into delicious soups, sauces, stews, and other products, while at the same time we employ people with barriers to traditional employment, paying them a fair wage. Goodly is a budding social enterprise. Since we started, and we need to go to the next slide, since we started in 2019, and after overcoming COVID shutdowns, to date we've produced over 225,000 liters of soup. We've upcycled and reused over 116,000 kilos of misfit product. We've provided close to 20,000 hours of supported labor, while at the same time, we continue to donate a large portion of our production to meal serving food charities. Yes. We learned very quickly that selling our soups in retail only would not be sustainable in the long run. Soup for many retail consumers is a seasonal product. We had to look beyond retail and started working with food service companies in post-secondary institutions and healthcare. We see opportunities in correctional services and hope to add these to our customer base in the near future. Since the 2021 Pacific Northwest floods affecting British Columbia and the state of Washington, we have seen a significant increase in sales to our customers. As supply chains were completely cut off for a month, food service providers had to look locally for their food needs. Goodly is a young and dynamic and flexible organization able to meet specific food needs for our customers, such as soups specifically developed for our customers who are serving patients with, for example, swallowing issues. We produce out of a local food hub, and food hubs or commissary kitchens are very beneficial to small startups like Goodly. With the major grant of the Walmart Foundation, we were able to scale up to industrial levels, but by using other facilities within a food hub, we can operate and grow. Our partner in Vancouver, Coho, is a commissary kitchen provider, and they allow us to grow beyond Vancouver across Canada as they are expanding themselves as well. We really look forward to continue working with our great partners of SFU and Compass Group. Our soups are served at the dining hall at SFU, and we are truly passionate about the work that we do. We really focus on upcycling produce and uplifting people. So that's Goodly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Art. So during this panel, we talked about indigenous food sovereignty, circular food economy through food waste reduction, and local food system resiliency. And these are some of the amazing themes covered by our panelists. So thank you to the panelists for sharing your invaluable insights. And we have some time to open up the floor to our attendees for a Q&A session. We might be able to take one or two, depending. So wondering who's brave enough to kick off the question. Yes. Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much. Julian from the Austrian Health and Food Safety Agency. Great that there's so many different actors from the entire food system here. So I have a general question that could possibly be answered by anyone. How are you dealing with the challenge of reducing meat consumption? Is that something that you've looked into? Yeah, thank you very much.
Sid.
Great question. Honestly, we're dealing with it from the sense of innovation happening in British Columbia. BC is continuing to innovate on plant-based protein, given the abundant supply of the ingredients that are required to do this. So you saw Kula Foods up there. It's an Afro company doing vegan lamb curry. So the next time you're in Vancouver and you're craving for a lamb curry, a vegan lamb curry, you can swing by and eat at the dining hall. So I think that we're tapping into the ecosystem, and we're supporting those young entrepreneurs who are innovating, and we're giving them a platform by doing pop-ups, by then using their products and then engaging our community on that. And that has been extremely successful. Just in the last year, we did 35 pop-ups with 35 organizations, all locally. You'll find more information on the website. Great question, though. Thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was. Oh.
Can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
So Goodly Foods works for a third party. We make a plant-based chicken soup, and the chicken as we call it, is made from wine crust that is coming from the Okanagan, one of the wine regions in Canada. So we're trying to implement as much as we can, not only real meat, but also plant-based meat that comes out of a corner where a lot of people don't expect chicken to come from.
Yeah, so art is all about innovation. So we have, thank you so much for the question. We have Dr. Ismail. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. And really a pleasure to see Simon Fraser University really taking this complex subject and bringing in it the culture of the region, the local species, and the Canadian knowledge. So my question to you, all of you, if from what I heard from Sid, Tamara, and Stephanie, that we had a meeting yesterday, it's very successful. You brought in many partners, local partners. How could we make this model a little bit broader? How could we take it from Canada to other parts of the world? And what do you need to do that?
I think we all could probably take this on a little bit in our own perspective. I think from our perspective, a regional focus is critical. An action-based focus is critical. We've had lots of dialogues today, and to be candid in this stage today, I would say that there is a summit, there is a stock taking, but there is no action in between. And we should continue to focus on platforms where actionable programs at the regional place-based spaces can happen. So if we as BC or Vancouver need to do something, that is how we would look at it in terms of driving, putting light to all of these programs, not just SFU. I'm sure there's lots of programs in this world that can be scalable, but it should be action-based. I think there is a need for some more action towards the SDGs. And so that's would be my 2 cents on that.
I think also, Steph, it seems like from attending this conference, you've made some network and connection with others who are interested in uplifting Indigenous chefs, such as you.
I think just being an Indigenous chef, I was giving the opportunity through SFU and Feed BC to share my culture. And I think with Indigenous people, they're willing to share, you just need to listen. Right? So there's a lot of culture there. There's a lot of tradition. And I'm thankful with the program, and there's so much great feedback from it. So I hope it can continue everywhere. Thank you.
That's great. I do know that there is one other question. Would you like to ask your question? Yes.
Hello, my name is Tineke Oenema. I'm the Executive Secretary of UN Nutrition. I have a very brief question to any one of the panelists. If I'm not mistaken, Canada has approved and adopted food-based dietary guidelines not too long ago. So to what extent do you use that as inspiration for your work? As we know, food-based dietary guidelines both, let's say, inspire consumers to eat well, but also producers to produce well. So that's my question.
The easy way to answer is that in our climate action plan that was signed by the board of directors at SFU and endorsed by the executive team, our commitment is to increase plant-based offerings by 50%. And that is in straight line to the food-based dietary guidelines that have changed in Canada to encourage our communities to balance the plate that they have or rebalance the plate that they have. So I think our focus has been, again, action-oriented in terms of we're going to increase it by 50%. Now, in the menus, there is a forced effort in increasing plant-based offering at every station, not just have a station with more vegetables and more plant-based offerings. We want to have it at every station. We also don't want to, we want to focus on flavors. And so we are inviting our chefs to be more bold with their flavors. So I always say in our dining commons, I always say, let garlic be garlic and let Szechuan be Szechuan, which means make sure you focus on the flavors. And then that allows us to really drive some of this change in behavior and change in diet. That's probably how we look at it. I'm sure Kevin might have a broader sense of what's happening across the country.
Yeah, no, and I think you articulated that perfect, Sid. I think the work that's being done specifically in this area is really around the education, and we have a very unique opportunity having the pleasure of working with students. And understanding that we also play a very key role in the education of their upbringing as it pertains to connection to food. We're seeing as we go through the K-12 and when students get to higher ed, there's a bit of a gap there. And I think that we all play a very important role through exactly what Sid just articulated of educating our students for today and tomorrow. And I think our ability to share more about food allows them to connect to food differently, see it differently, experience it differently, and then that just ties back to their overall experience to food. I think we've gone down too much of a path of coming, seeing the food, enjoying the food, but not really understanding the story, the history. And Steph talked a lot about that, and a lot of what she's working on is really about the history of the food and how to protect that, share that knowledge, and use our platform to the best of its ability.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the wonderful questions. Just to wrap up, SFU we are passionate about contributing to United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. I actually teach a class on sustainable development because we have a certificate in sustainable development at the School of Resource and Environmental Management. In terms of our meal, we definitely contribute to SDG 12, sustainable production and consumption. Our building is LEED Gold certified, contributing to SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities. We've banned plastic bottles at SFU. So this contributes to SDG 14 and SDG 15. We also are working with a company, a small enterprise called Reuse for Good. And the Reuse for Good initiative basically includes reusable containers. So we don't have to throw all of the styrofoam and all of these things. So that is also a waste reduction initiative. And we focus very much on international collaboration. So if you're here, an international partner, you're listening to this, come meet with us. We've signed MOUs with various universities, including Aga Khan University, Wageningen University, and we are passionate also about climate change. Who's not? So adding to our commitment on food and agriculture, we also have a BC Center for Agritech. And in conclusion, SFU, we are interested in being a champion in transformative action on SDGs. You've seen that with the panelists here. We are committed to engaging in global challenges on indigenous truth and reconciliation. And we look forward to fostering more partnerships and collaboration with you. And Google us. We are online. We are active. So thank you all for your time today, and come talk to us after. Thanks. Good night. Bye.